Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is a 1995 film produced by Toho. It is the 22nd film in the Godzilla franchise, and it's one of the more darker films in the series. The film is the last of the Godzilla films to be produced in the Heisei era. Godzilla films are broken down into different eras of when they came out. In order, there are the Showa era, the Heisei era, the Millennium era, and the Reiwa era. The Heisei era of films ran from 1984, with the return of Godzilla, to 1995, with Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Being such a huge Godzilla fan, I have watched most of the movies, and I have to say that Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is one of my favorites. In my opinion, it was the perfect movie to end the Heisei era on. The film revolves around a creature called Destoroyah, which is made up of smaller crab-like creatures that were born from the result of using the Oxygen Destroyer to kill the original Godzilla in the very first movie, back in 1954. Godzilla and his son come into conflict with the Beast, which is one of Godzilla's most formidable opponents to date. Godzilla at this point is dying, having battled Space Godzilla in the previous movie. As any loving parent would, Godzilla fights to protect his son. In the battle, however, Destoroyah ends up killing Godzilla's son, in one of the saddest scenes in any Godzilla film. This scene displays just how sadistic and merciless Destoroyah is, being one of the most terrifying kaiju ever put to film, up there with the likes of Shin Godzilla. If Toho was willing to make a sadistic kaiju like Destoroyah, I can't help but wonder what it would look like to see Red from Godzilla NES on the big screen. According to Destoroyah's bio in the game Godzilla Unleashed, Destoroyah seeks nothing more than the total annihilation of all life forms in existence. I actually couldn't find this in the game itself. I loaded up the game on my emulator and I could not for the life of me find where the character bios were, even though I unlocked everything. But it is on the official Destoroyah wiki. Destoroyah rampages through the city, killing untold numbers of civilians and military personnel. When the creature first emerges, it is as microscopic crustaceans in a lab. As the film progresses, the creatures grow larger and begin to attack anyone and anything. The creatures merge into a superorganism, which draws the attention of Godzilla. At this point in the series, Godzilla is still seen as a threat to humanity, so the human characters of the film are trying to figure out how to stop Godzilla and Destoroyah. Godzilla is slowly melting down as an organic nuclear reactor. If he were to explode, it would mean dire consequences for planet Earth. Destoroyah seems unstoppable as well. Just as all hope seems lost and humanity is doomed, Godzilla, enraged by the death of his son, uses all his strength and defeats Destoroyah in a final battle. The JSDF seize the opportunity and begin to launch ice weapons at Godzilla in an effort to stop him from melting down. The battle caused irreparable damage to the city of Tokyo, and countless lives were lost in the process. As Godzilla dies, his young son, now a fully grown Godzilla, rises from the ashes of Tokyo to take his place as king of the monsters. This was such a fitting end to the Heisei era of Godzilla films. Godzilla faces two of his most powerful enemies. First, Space Godzilla, then Destoroyah, and he dies so that his son may take his place. Now, me saying that this is a perfect end to the Heisei era does not mean that I think it should have been the last Godzilla film. In fact, I think quite the opposite. I love the Millennium films, which followed starting in the year 1999 with Godzilla 2000. The Millennium films were great, and so were most of the Reiwa films, which started in 2016 with Shin Godzilla. Heisei's Godzilla, however, had an incredibly powerful final story arc that we haven't really seen in the rest of the franchise. One can compare it to the end of The Return of the Jedi, which is also a fantastic end to a series of films. The sequels aren't canon to me. Traitor! The bad guys are defeated, the heroes get closure, and the rest of the world, for the most part, rejoices. What sets Godzilla vs. Destoroyah apart from other films is that the ending is left ambiguous to the audience. Will this new Godzilla be a force for destruction, or a force for protection? An ending like that not only leaves it open to sequels, but allows the audience to create their own stories in their head. It's important to note that each era of Godzilla films has their own canon timeline. The Heisei films, starting with Return of Godzilla, were direct continuations of the story set by the original 1954 Godzilla movie. But that is why Godzilla vs. Destoroyah's ending is so perfect. The original Godzilla's death in 1954 accidentally created an even bigger threat to the planet, and just as all hope seems lost, another Godzilla ends up saving all of humanity, even if that wasn't its intention. Godzilla, once seen as a terrifying monster, dies as a martyr for humanity and for his son. It gives closure to the original movie's story. I love interpretations of Godzilla like this one. Not inherently evil, but not inherently good either. Godzilla is just an animal trying to survive, and when threatened, it will protect itself and its offspring. When we compare the ending of the Heisei era to that of, say, the Millennium era, we have two distinctly unique and different endings. One is an incredible and tragic ending, and the other is a fan service cop-out. Godzilla Final Wars is the last movie in the Millennium series, and the whole premise of the movie is that almost every major monster Godzilla has ever faced is in the movie. It's basically just one huge continuous battle, but with bits of human character elements sprinkled throughout. The movie does, however, have Don Frye playing one of the characters, so I guess that's a plus. I don't dislike Final Wars, but when compared to movies like Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, it pales in comparison. The ending of Final Wars sees Earth saved and Godzilla returning to the ocean, which isn't a terrible ending by any means, but it has less of an impact than Godzilla vs. Destoroyah does. It kind of feels like a wasted finale. When you take into consideration movies like Tokyo SOS and Godzilla 2000 are also in the Millennium series. The movie itself is by no means bad, and if you haven't watched it, it is a pretty fun movie. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the most recent Godzilla movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong is in the legendary MonsterVerse, a group of Godzilla movies produced by an American studio. Godzilla 2014 was the first in this series, and while many people didn't like it because of its focus on human characters, I thought it was a fantastic Godzilla movie. It was followed up by Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019, which was an incredible step up, at least in my opinion. Godzilla vs. Kong was then released in 2021. At least to me, I thought the movie was a letdown. There was so much wasted potential with this film, and the whole premise of the movie could have been executed better. As of right now, Screen Rant confirms that Godzilla vs. Kong is the last entry in the legendary MonsterVerse, and that sucks. But this is why we should appreciate movies like Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, which ended their series of films in a good way. I hope the future of the Godzilla franchise is bright. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.